Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I am the dad. And that means, of course, we want to tell you that you can give us a call, 813-289-1860 or 1-877-969-8600. We'll put you on the air with us. And you say we've got some housekeeping, some people who have contacted us?
We do. We actually have some housekeeping that actually came in from the Ask Mr. Greenthumb website. So that's askmrgreenthumb.com. That's all spelled out except for the Mr. part. That's MR. So it's the question that first came in is, let's see, this is coming in from a Mike, and he says, growing grass under an oak tree. Hi, in front of my yard and around our oak tree, the Bahia grass no longer grows. The tree is 20 years old, and now that it's much bigger than the grass is now gone. Can I seed or resod with Bahia or another type of grass that might be better suited? I live in the Riverview area. Thanks so much, T746, a.k.a. Mike.
Hey, Mike. Mike, that's a good question. But are there any more good questions? No. I was going to say, Bahia doesn't take the shade real well. And sometimes I think it's better to go with, if it doesn't grow, and I've seen people do it where they'll put it in for the second, third, fourth time, they're going to put something back in that dies out. And it's sort of like, you're being told by the higher power that that's not the right plant for that place. So right place, right plant for the right place, and possibly going with a ground cover. Maybe make a bed. I was thinking Algerian ivy, English ivy, maybe creeping fig. Maybe going with a ground cover, some little mondo grass.
So it sounds like you're saying maybe just 86 grass entirely.
Pretty much. Now, if you wanted to go with grass, St. Augustine will take the shade. But it looks different. There's enough of a look difference. St. Augustine's the running grass. It has a thick blade. And, most people come up to me and say, we used to pull that out as crabgrass back where we were from in Ohio or New York or Michigan.
And I can never remember, but I always think of the two kinds of grass types, Floratam and Floratine. And I can never remember which one's which and which one might be better for certain situations.
Floratine or bitter blue or one of those is probably better for shade than Floratam. I know of a situation where an old student of mine, who's a landscaper, put Floratam in somebody's front area, and it died out in about a year because too many was great big oaks around there, and it just didn't really like that. And he knew better. He had Floratam. He didn't have Floratine or bitter blue at the time, and he stuck it in there. And he's actually a great landscaper. But I came to him later and said, this is dying out. And the clients came to me and said, hey, how come this is dying out? Well, I said, because he didn't really pick the right grass to put into there. Even if you do pick Floratine, if it's really dense, the problem with a really big oak tree is not only does it going to take all the sun and shade, but it also has this root system. Mm-hmm. When you take your shovel and you try to dig out there, you go, right. So that's a problem. And
so you're saying the nutrients are being kind of absorbed into the tree more than they would be for the grass.
And the water, too.
That makes all kinds of sense. Well, we did have an email come in, too, directly, and apparently this is Celebrate Women in Horticulture Week. I didn't know that this existed, so I was really glad to have the lady reach out to us. I guess it's from June 1st to June 5th, and it's kind of about female entrepreneurs in the U.S. economy. And this whole email talks about how much they do. I guess the research came in from American Express. They talk about 9.4 million workers generating $1.9 trillion in revenue. So it's a pretty big deal. And I guess it's from the American Hort Society for Women in Horticulture. And I told her I'd give her a big shout out on the radio just because she took the time to email us. So we commend you and keep on trucking. We think that's a wonderful thing.
We salute ladies in horticulture and agriculture, and certainly that's important. The thing I like about horticulture, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter if you're white or black, it doesn't matter if you're orange or green. Everybody can do it, and it's an equalizing factor. And it's something that hopefully in our country right now we can bring ourselves more together. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways to do that is by growing plants. it's a good thing. It's a positive thing.
Right, and it gets us focused on things that are much more positive for us to occupy our minds. And, and it's not to say that we shouldn't look at the problems that we have in society, because we clearly do. But, it does cause us to remember that, with God's grace and the ability to see the beauty in nature and to, it's one of the things that I think we have to focus on, especially in times like right now, is to get back to that time where we can remember that, planting a plant in your backyard, making your real estate as pretty as it can be before you get ready to sell it. These are things that we can focus our energies on, and that's what you and I are all about.
I agree. There's 99% of certainly the police force and firemen are good people, and we shouldn't forget that. Just like in your garden, you get one bad tomato, get rid of it. It's that one, and you don't want it out there because the gnats and fungi and everything else are going to spread from it. So I think I kind of make that analogy toward our one bad policeman. Most of the guys out there are doing a great job, and so we should commend them, and let's not lump everybody into the same. That's true. Yeah. The same bed that they're all bad.
Yeah, I agree, and I've met many police officers that would never ever be involved in anything remotely like that.
No, most not.
But I do think they're going to have to do a really hard look at training and making sure that we assess the situations better. And I think the universal condemnation of that act that took place is, I hope that they understand that nothing is being swept under the rug, and everyone that's looked at it feels the exact same way.
Yep, I agree 1,000%. So one of the things we can do is plant gardens, plant flowers, enjoy nature that's around us. Do something positive. One little positive step.
Sure. And on that positive note, I have more questions for the garden answer man. I have this comes in from a Roger, and I'm going to butcher the name of this. Let's see here. I have a non-flowering Cura something or other. Anyway, apparently its regular name is a custard apple.
Right.
And he says, I have a custard apple that I planted as a seed about 8 years ago. It's a very healthy-looking plant, about 8 feet tall, that refuses to blossom. If that can be corrected, we're looking forward to fruit, which we understand is quite delicious.
Yes, it will be. And I think when you raise something from seed, it normally takes sometimes as little as 5, but normally 7 to 10 years. One of the reasons that we often get fruit trees that are grafted is that you can get a known variety and you get a mature variety. You get something that's ready to start to flower and fruit. And almost everybody, one of the reasons I bought a grafted avocado a number of years ago now was that I wanted to get fruit in a hurry. And must have 100 fruit on there right now, which is great. I know that, Jesse and Metchie are already getting ready. John next door is getting his guacamole recipe out. So I know it's that time of year. And I like that. I like sharing with our good folks. I am blessed with wonderful neighbors. And John, of course, I said he's a construction guy that should have been a chef, because he gets out there and kills me when he's cooking with his onions and peppers and stuff like that. I'm going, guy smells like fair. Like the fair has come through, and you've got all these great wafts of great fragrances coming across.
Absolutely. It always seems, too, like it's the day that we really didn't have anything planned for lunch or anything really planned for dinner or something. And I'm usually over at your house helping you with some project around your house. And, then all of a sudden I'm like, yep, John's home. He's over there making something delicious again. And for whatever reason, the wind seems to be wafting in our direction again. I don't know if he quite understands the torture involved in that. But it always smells delicious because John is an amazing cook and or as you said, chef. So that's a wonderful thing.
I'm giving him a step up. We'll move him up to a chef from him just being want him to be a line cook, though. He'd probably made a great line cook, too.
John make a great anything.
He would. 813-289-1860. We'll put you on there with us. Also, 1-877-969-8600 will also put you on with us if you are outside the area. We, of course, are going to make some big announcements next weekend, not this weekend, but we have some things to say. And
the big announcement we can make today is we're going to be with you not just from 7 to 8, but from 7 to 9.
That's right. And we had some people saying, hey, we want another hour. And actually, my buddy Paul Porter called me yesterday, too, said, hey, there's some potential openings here. And I said, here, I just get my life straightened out, and Paul's wanting me to be his lead-in show, which was a real compliment. And I like Paul. Paul does a great job.
Oh, yeah. We were both listening to Paul Porter on his show yesterday, and he was doing a great show. And it was asking some very interesting questions because, again, I mean, we're all talking about the coronavirus and the pandemic and stuff, and we don't, even if you're doing a sports show, the main topics that he was really going over was the whole concept with baseball and baseball salaries and all of that kind of thing and trying to figure out what in the heck they're going to do. And he actually asked a very good question that I thought was a great question, which was the fact that would it make sense for them to just get rid of the top earners and just bring up the AAA guys and whether or not, that would still be okay.
Yeah, then he was saying, I think, with the National Hockey League, which, of course, he's tied in with both the Lightning and, of course, the Magic with basketball. But one of the things there is that, they depend on filling those stadiums.
Sure.
And if you don't have them filled, can you, say how many multi-millions do you want and still be happy?
Absolutely. And again, we want to remind you, if you want to call into our live call-in show from 7 to 9 a.m., 813-289-1860 or 1-877-969-8600 as the gardening and real estate talk shall continue.
Hi, Darcy the Cow here for Black Cow, the mature manure. Every time you buy a bag of Black Cow, you're helping the environment. Our process helps to repurpose manure so it is environmentally friendly and beneficial for your garden and lawn. Black Cow contains up to 10 times more nutrients and microbes than garden soils. Oh yeah, and it helps to retain moisture too. Your lawn, flower beds, and vegetable gardens will be off to a great start with Black Cow. Everything grows better with sun, water, and Black Cow. Oh yeah, for details, check out our website, at blackcow.com.
Black Cow, the mature manure, Black Cow.
Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Properties Group encourages you to auction your Florida real estate. Please go to aflre.com. That's A for auction, FL for Florida, and RE for real estate. We achieve fair market value for your home. Are you tired of paying real estate commissions? How about 0% commission for sellers? Instead, we make the buyers pay for it. Again, go to aflre.com. That's Auction Florida Real Estate. That's AFL.
The answer. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial problems with flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I am the dad, Stan, and you are?
And I am the son, James.
And one of the things, we do real estate as well as I'm a horticulturist and a certified arborist by my training. Wrote a gardening book for Florida. And people want a gardening book, they can buy a gardening book from me for $40. And I usually throw in the Tampa Bay Magazine deal for free, which is a $20 value
deal.
But there's more.
There's more.
We might say also with, with real estate, why would someone want to think about doing an auction, or we call it accelerated sale often?
Yeah, and and it's a good point too, because when we say that we do real estate, the very first thing that happens, it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction. what you get is a lot of other agents, and there are 9,000 registered realtors in Pinellas County. So the first thing that comes up, and it's not to say that all of them feel this way, but their dander does go up a little bit. Hey, that's my field. Mm-hmm. I get that. But what we're doing is entirely different in real estate. We supply a very niche type of service in real estate, and what we provide is we do real estate auctions. Now, a lot of times what you'll hear is people go, well, is that like online platform? Well, I'm not sure. I'm a huge fan of that because often you're not educated as to what that would do. And sometimes people have had mixed success with that. But that's not what we're providing. What we're providing is a full service brokerage type of relationship where we'll be auctioning off the property in the flesh.
We got $2 million over here, $2 million, 1, 2 over here, 2 over here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sold.
Exactly.
And I like the number that you started out with. Wouldn't that be the ideal real estate number? But no, that's the main thing that I would want to point out to people is that we're not working against any of the other agents. Matter of fact, we market primarily to other real estate agents because usually what's happening in their situations is they've taken on a property. Maybe they took on that price point where, hey, they wanted to list it at $250,000, but the seller said, no, I want 305. I need to get over 300 in this property. But the real estate agent, unlike Zillow and Zestimate, know the market. They know what that area is, that maybe that's their farming area. And when we say farming, this is another term, especially on a horticulture show.
It's kind of different than that.
We have to explain that, but it's not entirely different. And one of the things I would say with that is that real estate agents, they farm. They try to make sure that area is an area that they want to do more business in by sending out postcards, phone calls, all of those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So, and you said we've got a caller here.
We do. We've got Don in Tampa. So let's go to Don in Tampa. Good morning. And you've got something about cleaning up the backyard. Good morning, Don. Don should be with us. Let's see if Don is there. Yeah, there he is. Hi, Don. How are you doing?
It's John.
Oh, John. Okay. Well, John, you're close enough. Don Johnson.
It could be Don Johnson.
Yes.
We've upgraded you.
Yeah, I agree with you guys about gardening is, it's a way to bring people together and, get together with neighbors. And it's, a friend of mine, Louis, would say it's like shaking hands with God. It's, making dirt turn into food.
I agree 100%. With food, all things we're all happier. And we were just talking with Joe in here earlier, and one of our good friends that we've have gone to a number of things with, and I was thinking of our former Coach Dungy, who's on the wall over here, actually, who I've met.
Mr. Tony Dungy.
And I've been to some luncheons with him. Great guy, and talk about a guy who always seems to have that uplifting message toward, people and,
he's definitely faith-based in his approach on how he handles stuff, and it reflects... we're looking at Tony Dungy every day because he's on the wall and he's got his hands in the air, and it screams winner.
Yep, and it also to me screams unity, that we're all together. We're all. If you talk to Tony Dungy, it's not like you're black and you're white. It's like we're all people, which is what it really is supposed to be. That we're all together as folks, and I know you believe that as well.
Yeah, definitely. So in my garden, I've got containers. I've got those. I've got earth box containers, and I've got large planters that got stuff growing in. I'm growing quinoa.
Oh, quinoa.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful growing plant. I haven't harvested anything yet, but it's supposed to be edible as the leaves and the flowers and the seeds. I want to see how much it thrives.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know. I've not done much with quinoa. I'll tell you, a plant I have grown the last year or two is moringa. And you can eat the leaves, the fruit, the stems, the roots. Every part of moringa could be eaten, and it has more calcium than milk, more protein than meat, and it's a little different flavor. I've been actually kind of dry it, and then I grind it and then I put it into, on top of cereal or into things.
Darn, I was hoping you were going to say you were going to put it into a capsule and call it the Ask Mr. Greenthumb Wonder of Life.
Well, I've talked to Dr. Lang about that, so there could be more coming. I think that would be a great idea.
And just for $19.95 or 4 easy payments of $4.99.
Well, if you can help people and make a little profit, then there's nothing wrong with that.
I agree.
But, so yes, maybe incorporate. Go ahead.
Yeah, you got to be able to eat and pay the bills.
That's
right.
right.
I got moringa. I've got sun gold tomatoes I grew from seed, and they're kind of young, but the cherry tomatoes do pretty good through the summer. The other tomatoes are burned up.
Yeah, I had some little cherry tomatoes recently, and when I cut them up, to put into a salad, I took the little seeds and put them on paper towel, and which I had hundreds of seeds, and then I kept them moist. I put them into the earth box, and I thought, well, this is a good place to germinate for the cherry tomatoes, because the other ones I've got are they're larger than cherries, and they're still producing, but I think as it gets warmer, a lot of the bigger fruited tomatoes will quit producing as it gets really hot at night or warm at night. So that's when the little cherries and grape tomatoes, those type, will keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a sad morning, though. I came out and there were no zucchini flowers to pollinate.
So you were out there with those big wings on?
Yeah, I put the wings on, get my Q-tip, and pollinate.
The neighbors are saying, John's out there with those big 6-foot wings again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the show's great. Thanks for doing it.
Well, thanks for being part of it.
We appreciate it.
We are hoping that people will remember me from my many years being other places, and that they're telling their neighbors and friends about, hey, the show is still here. It's back. And the Florida Gardening Show is here on 860, The Answer.
Absolutely. And if you guys want to call in, you can certainly use the 813-289-1860. Or if you want to call toll-free, it's 877-969-8600.
Hey, there he's getting the big voice. I like it.
Big voice.
You stay with us, and the plant talk and real estate talk will continue right here.
Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Properties Group encourages you to auction your Florida real estate. Please go to aflre.com. That's A for auction, FL for Florida, and RE for real estate. We achieve fair market value for your home. Are you tired of paying real estate commissions? How about 0% commission for sellers? Instead, we make the buyers pay for it. Again, go to aflre.com. That's Auction Florida Real Estate. That's
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Got questions on gardening, real estate, or both? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I am Stan DeFreitas, and you are?
I am James DeFreitas, the son, and looks like we got a little bit more housekeeping to do here. So we were just talking about tomato plants, and this question comes in. This is all of these questions are coming in, by the way, from AskMrGreenthumb.com. So that's AskMrGreenthumb.com. So this question comes in from Jesse. Jesse is, let's see, tomato plant is wilting from the top down. I noticed yesterday the top of my tomato plant is wilting. Today it's wilting from about halfway down from the plant, and I didn't notice any spots, and the leaves are not turning brown or yellow. What's going on, Mr. GT?
Well, there's got to be an answer there. It probably is a fungus within the system. Now, typically, spotting on the foliage would definitely tell us that we had a fungus on your tomato plant. But sometimes you'll get it to where the fungus grows into the stem or something. That could be a problem. There's also viruses. We talk about these aren't viruses like we have with COVID, but there are viruses that will get into tomato plants as well. And in fact, if you were in some greenhouses, they won't let you go in if you're a smoker because they're worried about you carrying a virus that could be in the tobacco and the smoke. So that's a potential also. And typically there's a color break, and normally the leaf starts to look it'll distort. I call it, looks like a distorted hand almost. You'll get a color break, kind of a yellow lightning effect in it. But so I'm guessing you've got something internally going on with the tomato plant. Sometimes you can just pinch off the bad part, and that's easy. I was talking to my neighbor, John. He says, well, when I get a little fungus, sometimes I take off the bottom part, and then it just pops out with more. And tomato plants are pretty forgiving because they'll put out a lot of foliage.
Sure.
In his case, he's also trying to become the blueberry, king of growing blueberries. The problem is almost all of his blueberry plants are fungused up in the leaves. And if you can't take all the foliage off because you'd have a nude or naked blueberry. So
hey, this is a PG-13
well,
show.
I know. This is the PG version. So, in that case, you can't trim off all those leaves that are infected. And if you get too much fungus, the plant goes on a 1 bean a day diet, the ultra slim fast, and the plant dies. So that's a problem with plants with fungi. But I mean,
sure. And it's better to be the blueberry king than the tiger.
Yeah, I guess the tiger. At least we've got a nice Tampa connection there. Isn't that great?
But I say nothing about
no,
that.
I'm not even going to go. I'm going to go, I will tell you, 813-289-1860 or 1-877.
877-969-8600.
Oh, you're trying to outdo me with your big booming voice there. But it's okay, young grasshopper.
I'm making an attempt anyway.
I like it. That shows initiative.
If I could only smoke 4 packs a day, I'd really get that voice way down there.
When I first started in radio, and I hate to say it's almost been 40 years ago, probably was 40 years ago, everybody, I would go, gosh, these people, this is Walter Cronkite. I'm going, oh my gosh, these guys have the big voice. You couldn't go into a studio and not come out smelling like 4 cartons of cigarettes, because that was almost all of the ancient wonders smoked like crazy.
I remember too, and I forget what station you were on at the time, but I must have been 4 or 5 years old, and I think the year was 1982, and and I forgot what station it was. It was a small station,
probably WPLP. People listening to people.
Yeah,
one of my first jobs.
It was one of those stations, and I remember walking in and not walking in. I think you carried me in, and as soon as we got outside, my face did turn red. It was 3 shades of smoke color. But 2 days later, the residual smoke smell came off of my out of my ears and out of my nose. But I remember coughing and hacking and going, I don't think that's a very healthy environment.
Well, one of the guys I worked with back then was a guy named John Eastman, and John was a big-time smoker. Eventually, it got him. But, I remember there was a guy named Peter Johns who had this is Peter Johns. And I kept thinking, oh, my gosh, I don't have that voice necessarily. I mean,
it turns out you don't really need it.
You don't necessarily. I mean, and I can punch a commercial when I need to. But I just thought that was, back then, I thought that's what you had to have if you wanted to be a serious broadcaster.
Right, exactly. Well, we have some more questions here if you want to answer them, unless we have anything on the line waiting here. So the title of it is Small Tree Recommendations, and bear with me, this person did write a gracious plenty. His name is Mark, and I'm not going to say his last name because I'm going to butcher it, so I won't do it. But he says, hey, Mr. Greenthumb, first of all, I wanted to tell you that I am a huge fan since moving to Florida in 1989 from Ohio. I bought a house here in St. Pete and purchased your book, The Complete Guide to Florida Gardening. So for many years, I considered this book to be the gardening Bible. That year, I planted many things in my backyard and even put in a small pond. Following your directions, I had great vegetable garden as well. However, everything seemed to be ready at the same time. I had beefsteak tomatoes that were 1 to 2 pounds each. It just seems that taking all of your advice and wisdom really played a huge part in my success. However, I gave your book to a friend that just bought a new home with a great backyard a few years back and wished I moved to my new place, and I still bought another copy of your book. I found a first edition. Now I have another copy, and it's the 3rd edition. It looks a little different, but I'm really glad to have it again. Anyway, that that was many years ago, and you and I were much younger then.
That's true.
I know I have a bigger backyard, and I've been working for the last 2 years, and it's still not done. The reason for writing all of this is that with the help of my friends and having some professional advice, we installed a very sizable pond. His neighbors put in a pond and cut down a tree to put in a pool that took the shade over their pond. Then they had a grapefruit tree that died and took the rest of the shade out of the yard. I don't want to plant any trees that are going to get really tall, but I'm looking for something that could be kept to a maximum height of 15 feet and reasonably be accessible. Possibly maybe 2 different types. The only trees that looks like it might work would be a bottle brush. Can you recommend something else?
Yeah, bottle brush are great, but they're kind of messy when they drop those flowers.
Right, and if you don't want a bottle brush, then, if you want something... How about a jacaranda? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it gets to be big.
It gets to be big, and it's also messy.
Some other trees that could be smaller, maybe some smaller flowering trees. I mean, crepe myrtle are often used because they drop their foliage during the winter, and they're small leaves, so they're not as, they're not the problem, let's say, that a magnolia can be. You can get a gem magnolia, which stays small. So there's
so a gem magnolia might be good for Mark.
Might be a good choice. Ligustrum tree, viburnum tree. I've even thought of the dwarf elm is another possible. So there are smaller trees. When you go to a tree place, go, hey, I wish I had a nursery right now that I could recommend because...
And if you own a nursery, please contact Stan at 727-423-4794. We are looking for a dedicated nursery sponsor.
Yeah, right now I call them up and they'll go, hey, we're real busy with this pandemic. Why would I want to spend any money? Or they're going, well, now listen here, feller. I could spend $1, but no. So, yeah, I understand. Not everybody likes to keep the dollars in your own pocket.
Well, and I would also say, too, is that it's hard to think about advertising when you're already doing so well. And I know a lot of people in the nursery business are having great success, and I commend that. Let me also say pandemics come and go. And when they do go, you'll be back to your normal sales, which is, it's good. And, you're always making a living, but it's making a living. And it's not like the plants will be flying off the shelves. And the people that advertise now will still have better success than those that don't.
That's right. So we're not going to pick on you too hard, but we will say that I'm glad that he bought my book a couple of times.
And just to kind of finish up with what Mark was saying here, he goes, you definitely are my Mr. You, sir, Mr. Greenthumb, are my hero and have been all these years.
Well, thank you.
I still remember meeting you at Home Depot, and I truly thank you for the inspiration and your vast knowledge. And thank you for turning my what would have been a brown thumb into a Florida green thumb.
When I used to do commercials for Home Depot, where low prices are just the beginning, and Walmart, always your low price leader. Anyway, yes, I have those spots in my brain, and I could hit them in a heartbeat or a second. But I've also done stuff with Lowe's as well. Actually, I haven't done anything with any of the major guys there either for a while, and we probably should. But, thinking of some of your ideas for trees and plants, I think it's good to have a little pond. I kind of miss the pond I had up in my other house in Clearwater. Had a little fish pond up there, though I always kept, I thought the herons and other birds of prey loved having goldfish on demand.
Sure did. Yeah, that was meals on, well, it wasn't on wheels, but definitely meals in the water.
Meals in the pond. But I kind of miss having that. It was relaxing to hear the water coming off a little waterfall and stones and stuff. I haven't done that since I have a big pool now in my new house, which, of course, is another whole set of problems that, thank God, you come along and take care of for me, which is nice. So, yeah, I think that we answered some of those questions. I'm glad that he is there. I think that there are a lot of smaller trees. I would definitely pay attention to what size the tree gets to be. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I did in my book, Stan DeFreitas' Complete Guide to Florida Gardening, is sometimes I put my neck out and said, the tree gets to this size or this size and this width. Because if you don't know how big something is going to be, it could be a problem.
Sure, and something that's interesting too that was on, and I saw it on Tanya's Facebook group, and I think she may actually been the one that mentioned it, or at least one of the administrators for her Facebook group. they were talking about, hey, it's come to our attention that a lot of you don't know what zone you're in, and that's a good point. In terms of growing, it's all. I mean, just like knowing the height of the tree that you're going to plant, it's also important to know whether or not something can take the cold if you're in the right zone. And it doesn't take too much of going north in Florida before it's very different.
And even microclimates. We talk about micro tears. There's microclimates even between, let's say, being near the water, a block from the water, a mile from the water. Those areas can be different, even though we can put wide swaths of this is the area you're in. Each one of us knows that there can be some differences.
Sure. And, and I always think, too, because I'm a history buff. So one of the things that I think is interesting is we have a lot of towns in Florida that harken back to our orange growing days. One of those that comes to my mind is a town called Frostproof. It turns out that it wasn't very frostproof. They had to continue moving that line, that arbitrary line, further and further south to guarantee that they could grow oranges and not have to have that problem. And, of course, now I'm not sure we grow that many oranges in Florida. I think we import more than we grow.
Probably not due to the cold so much now. It's due to greening and some other diseases.
And probably some economic reasons, I would think, too. It might be cheaper to import them. But we want to remind you that if you want to call in and ask us about your gardening and real estate, it's 813-289-1860 or toll-free 877-969-8600.
Stay with us as the plant and real estate talk continues.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's PLANTZ, is bringing nature inside, in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity, and get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Properties Group encourages you to auction your Florida real estate. Please go to aflre.com. That's A for auction, FL for Florida, and RE for real estate. We achieve fair market value for your home. Are you tired of paying real estate commissions? How about 0% commission for sellers? Instead, we make the buyers pay for it. Again, go to aflre.com. That's Auction Florida Real Estate. That's aflre.com.
Utzi Tree Service, that's YUTZY, is singularly focused on complete customer satisfaction and has been for almost 50 years. From initial contact to service completion, UtziTreeService.com will prove that you have hired the best tree care service available. With the most knowledgeable staff and the most advanced equipment, you can be sure that UtziTreeService.com is the most professional tree care company in the Tampa Bay area. Contact UtziTreeService.com today for the highest quality tree care.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial problems with flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
You're not on.
Okay, AM 860, the answer. We're there. So make sure we hit the buttons here. Being a seasoned veteran.
I'll keep you straight, feller.
Hey, you gotta. That's the reason it's nice to have a dynamic duo here. You know, I'm Batman and Boy Robin.
Man, I got relegated to the second tier rather
quickly. I gotta keep my Batman status, feller. One of the things I was going to say that we're here, of course, we do talk about real estate, and we can talk more about that because I know that's kind of it's where we're going to make our money for the most part, and we can help people. I like it that we're another tool in the toolbox, another arrow in the quiver. We're there to help other agents, and I think a lot of agents like that. As you said, you could throw a rock into a crowd of 100 people and you're going to hit 25 realtors.
Oh, yeah. You're going to hit 25 realtors and about 9 lawyers.
So it's nice to know that we can be a help. And once you talk to an agent and you say, look, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to be necessarily a direct competitor. You still keep your commission.
Yeah, and that's a really great point, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because the main thing for me is look, if we can make sure you get a check and you're going to get your full contracted commission rate that you had with your seller, and your workload is going to be minimal. I mean, I think that's a pretty sweet gig.
Yeah.
One of the things we do though is, Stan and I don't make any money unless we're auctioning properties. And one of the things that we found is that if you still get to maintain that client relationship. We don't usually do any of the open houses or any of the private showings because we really don't want to take that away from the agents. We want the agents to still have that connection to their client, because at the end of the day, even though we may be driving the sale in an auction, we still believe in that the agents should still be able to take the bow when the property goes pending to sold.
Sure.
And and the other thing I would say too is that pride really has to take a back seat for what's best for your client. See a lot of prideful agents, and they'll let that pride take them all the way down to expired land on their listing. And that doesn't help you, it doesn't help the client, and it doesn't help your brokerage any. Because what happens is they wind up going on down the road, and they'll find the next brokerage and go, well, those people didn't get it done. And, and that's all they'll remember you as, just the people that didn't get it done. But the agents that think outside the box and think about how they could partner up with somebody else to help them. And that's, and a great point, is that we work with all brokerages. It doesn't matter if you don't have to be with Berkshire Hathaway. You don't have to be with RE/MAX. You don't have to be with Coldwell Banker. You don't have to be with Keller Williams. You can call us up, and we work with everybody.
That's true, and that's a beauty.
It's a beauty, and then we'll make sure you get your commission. We typically take on properties. We try to get them closed in 45 days, and we try to do everything fast, which is why we refer to it often as an accelerated sale.
I agree. Well, let's go to Jeff in St. Pete. He's got a question about some roses. Jeff, good morning. How are you?
Hey there, Mr. Greenthumb. It's been a long time since I've talked to you on the radio.
Well, that's true, and I appreciate you being there.
Hey, it's good to hear your voice out there.
Well, thank you. I'm Batman, and I've got Boy Robin in here with me.
I've been relegated to Boy Robin. I don't think each week the status seems to go down a little more.
I'm trying to give him a boost.
Yeah, and you should see the little chair they put me in too. I'm back in kinder care.
I gave him a little tiny chair, but he has to merit a bigger chair as time goes on.
But today I got the big mic, so I'm telling you, things are moving up.
Yeah, he's actually got the big boom mic, though I didn't want it because they can't see me with the big boom mic, and they can't see you on this side if I have the big boom mic. So.
But we are protected. We have plexiglass. You can't see it on the radio, but we have plexiglass up, and I tell you what, there's no way in heck this coronavirus is getting around this.
Yeah, we're hoping this thing will be gone. We know Joe can't wait to get rid of this, but
we are satisfying our corporate masters.
That's right. But Joe will do what he is told as far as making sure we're safe, and we appreciate that. So, safety first, and then, what it looks like. Well, that doesn't matter.
That's right.
The beauty of radio, right?
That's true. Right. That's true. So you're growing some roses?
Well, I'm thinking about, I want to put in a rose bed and have multiple roses. And, I've seen a lot of different ideas on that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people use raised beds.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me wonder, do roses have a problem with what we call wet feet? They don't like a lot of water around the roots. They like the drainage.
Yep, that's true.
Is it,
they don't want wet feet, and most plants don't really want wet feet unless they're an aquatic plant. So the beauty of a raised bed is that you do have, near perfect drainage.
Yeah.
So, and you can also improve the soil. Roses, like an improved soil. So, add that peat, cow manure, black cow, really improve the soil. I always say make a $20 hole for your $15 rose. And if you do, you're going to have better success. And I go out around my avocado. I call it my mulch tree. I add banana peels every day, some coffee grounds from my coffee. I'm constantly putting it on something around there. To me, I like recycling. The solution to pollution is dilution. So, you might as well put that stuff back into your yard, especially when we have 1% organic matter.
So I have a quick question about that. So if you're, because we were talking about tomatoes earlier, and now we're talking about roses. And typically in tomatoes, we'll use an elevated box, like an earth box or something like that. But for that purpose, we're usually doing it to try to protect from nematodes, right?
We are, but we're also trying to get good drainage. One of the reasons they invented the earth box is that he had some wet areas out there, Blake, wasn't it? And because Blake had some areas that were low, he lost a lot of tomatoes. One year they had a big flood down there near Waimama area where he's at.
What'd you say about my mama?
Yep. And because it was too much water, they lost thousands of plants. And he thought he came up with the idea of let's get them up off the ground with the earth box.
But so I guess my question is do roses are they impacted if you had nematodes in the soil? Would that do anything to them in the same way that we see the impact with tomatoes?
They can. I mean, nematodes are little microscopic eelworms.
Oh, and good. Thanks for defining that because
we have millions of them out there. If you took a little bit of soil, there are millions and millions and probably billions of little creatures that are living in our soils.
Because didn't you tell me one time how small these things were?
Yeah, they're tiny, very tiny. I mean, there's lance, spiral, stubby, just to name a few of the parasitic nematodes that we have in our soils.
Yeah, because I remember one time at a home show, a lady came in with a bag and she was pointing to some white things in a bag going, "These are nematodes, right, Stan?"
No, and they're not. But there are bigger nematodes.
You got a chuckle out of it, if I remember.
There are some nematodes in the ocean that get to be like 10 feet long.
Right.
And I always say, thank God we don't have those in our backyard garden.
Not yet.
So how did you lose little Snuffy? Well, it was a nematode that came up and grabbed him. So that could be bad. Can't take the dog to see Karen anymore because the nematode got it.
That would not be a good business.
Good business model.
No.
But Jeff would probably figure out a way we could sell some whole life or other policies for your dog.
Well, now that you mention that.
That has probably not been done, but it should be, because we have our dogs for so long. I was saying the other day, I've lost dogs before, and sometimes I think I've shed a tear more for some of my dogs than I have some of my relatives, and I hate to say that.
Sure.
But, depends on the relative.
Absolutely.
But, Jeff, I would improve the soil. Make sure you get them on a good rootstock for Florida. There's a couple. Dr. Huey is the second choice. Fortuniana is a good rootstock. Is Jeff still with me, or is he gone already?
No, I'm here.
You're still there. Okay, so we've got actually, we're coming up to the top of the hour, or I shouldn't say we've got some time going. Yeah, we've got the music means that
it's time to give out the numbers. 813-289-1860 or 877-969-8600.
Jeff, thanks for the call, and we appreciate that. We're going to tell you to stay with us as the Plant Talk continues.
Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Properties Group encourages you to auction your Florida real estate. Please go to aflre.com. That's A for auction, FL for Florida, and RE for real estate. We achieve fair market value for your home. Are you tired of paying real estate commissions? How about 0% commission for sellers? Instead, we make the buyers pay for it. Again, go to aflre.com. That's Auction Florida Real Estate. That's aflre.com.
For everything from questions about cucumbers to homes on cul-de-sacs, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show with Stan DeFreitas, the dad, and James DeFreitas, the son. For the next hour, call in with your questions in gardening, growing your favorite veggies, and growing your profits in real estate. Locally, call 813-289-1860. Toll free 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
I am Stan DeFreitas, the dad.
And I'm James DeFreitas, and thank you so much for joining us on our second hour
Yeah, I'm so happy that we have a second hour now. This is going to be not only from 7 to 8, which we were doing for the first month, but now we're going 7 to 9. And I had a lot of folks, too, tell me, hey, we know you're there early morning. We may catch you on that second hour. So all you folks out there who, say you may, we're glad that you're there, and we hope that you'll
and for folks, too, that are just not ever going to be up from 7 to 9, fear not. We have you covered. You can, we wind up putting this stuff on our AskMrGreenthumb.com website, and we also put it up on YouTube. So, and again, if you go to the YouTube thing, all you have to type in is Ask Mr. Greenthumb, and the channel pops right up. And now you don't get to see it, or, you get to see it, but you don't get to hear it live, so you can't call in and ask your questions immediately. But you can go into the AskMrGreenthumb.com and ask a question, and then we will feature your question next week on the air.
I agree. And speaking of somebody who's been hanging in there with us on Before the News, we have a lady named Cheryl. Cheryl from Valrico, and you've got a question, I think, about window boxes.
Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you. Good morning, Stan. Good morning, James.
Good morning.
Yeah, we're glad to have you with us. I'm sorry to make you wait that long.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. My question, what I was wanting to know is your recommendations. I have 2 window boxes on the front of my house that get full direct sunlight throughout through the day, and I haven't had a lot of luck with keeping the flowers in there, and I just wanted to know what you guys might recommend.
Well, there's a number of things that you can try. One that we put a little window box up. I shouldn't say window box. I should say a mailbox. And it has like a little planter on the backside, kind of a cutesy thing. Looks sort of like a window box.
And he made me install it.
Yes, and he installed it. And, of course, if you know my son, he's like very meticulous. He's out there with his, slide rule. He's got a measuring thing. He's got a plumb.
And he's absolutely right. I had a 4-foot level. I had my 26-inch level, and I was making sure that it was square and plumb. And I could see some of the people looking at me from afar going, this guy's overdoing it.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad, but we had things like, this is NASA. We are now at ground control. We are sending back a signal from the satellite to make sure you have it exactly, perfectly level and straight. And I guess that I really admire my son for that, because if it were me, I'd go, pretty darn close, let's go. But that's, it's sort of the differences between us. And I appreciate James's, he got that, I guess, from his mother. Let's make it pure. It's perfect. And
so impatience would be a bad choice, right? Because that doesn't do well in the heat, or would that be a good choice?
Well,
for a planter?
impatience don't like the sun that hard. They'd rather be in some shade. So I'm thinking more like, we put in some Kalanchoes. Kalanchoes, or some people will call them Kalanches. I call them Kalanchoe. It starts with a K. Kalanchoe is it's a succulent.
Okay.
And they used to use them over in Disney, back when people could go to Disney, over to the big Universe of Energy, the big silver globe they had over there.
You're talking about Epcot.
Epcot, yes, next to Disney, owned by the same folks. Mm-hmm. They would put the Kalanchoes around there and paint an impression upon me, because they made that real shiny big sphere. And so you're thinking, boy, in the middle of July and August, that's going to radiate a lot of heat. Makes it cooler inside, but outside, and they used the Kalanchoes quite a bit. So I was paying attention. When I go to a place like that, I'm always going, how do their plants look so good over here?
They don't show you the armada of staff that come out.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference and a huge budget. And if something doesn't look good, they yank it out and put something new in, and most of their plants are in containers.
What about pentas? You used to have a lot of pentas growing.
Pentas would take the heat pretty well. They're a little bit bigger. Yeah, they'll be great. I remember you were a boy, and we would have the hummingbirds come by. And he sat there one day for like 20 minutes, showing you patient he is. And the hummingbird came and took the nectar out of the flower that he was holding in his hand.
That was an amazing experience, too, if anybody hasn't experienced that, because you can feel when they get that close to, pollinate the individual part of the flower there, you can feel the wind that's being generated. I mean, it's a very small amount, but you could feel it on the backs of your fingers, the speed of how much energy it takes for them to do what they do. And that was a very cool thing.
Is Isn't that a neat? That's a neat story too, because it was a true story. I would say anything that you can see that's in the hot area of the nursery probably will take it. I'm always leery of short-term plants, like marigolds. Though I must say, I collected my seeds from old spent marigolds, and I have a whole new crop, and I'm starting a new crop again from seeds again. So it's kind of become my thing to save the flower seeds and reuse them again, because that's what they're there for. And it breaks my Scottish heart. I don't like to go and say, I got to go spend more money at the nursery.
Yeah,
but,
and then some of those seeds, if I remember correctly, to get them to germinate, you have to, what do they call it, scarify, or I'm butchering that.
Well, there's scarification.
Scarification.
But you don't need to on a seed like that. You just need to cover it over.
Okay, but why would, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to interlope here to her question, but I'm interested, and I'll lose the thought. Why would you need to do that ever to a seed?
Some seeds need a little scratching of the surface. They have a very hard seed coat, and by scarifying it, you get it to germinate easier.
Okay.
Some things are easy to germinate, some are not. Usually the bigger, harder seeds, like nut seeds and things, often need to be scarified because they're meant to drop from the tree, to be covered by leaf mold, and there'll be a natural cracking of the seed when you go through freezing and unfreezing.
Which we don't get.
We don't get here typically. So that stratification, sometimes people will actually take some of those seeds, they'll put them in a layer of straw or strata, they'll put it in a cool box or in the refrigerator, vegetable bin maybe, and they'll stratify it. It's kind of like bulbs, some of the tulips and things of that nature that really need that cool time for them to kind of increase their energy so they can come back and flower again. Now, we don't get that here. So if you want tulips, you definitely have to put them into your refrigerator and chill them to get them to do anything here. And they will work. It's just that's a lot of work for folks. And Cheryl, I probably wouldn't go with the tulips.
So for Cheryl, maybe a kalanchoe, maybe pentas.
Maybe any of the small flowering plants. I mean, I'm thinking some of the annuals, of course, would die out. The marigolds would take the heat, but they're tough. Purslane, we see it growing kind of as a weed sometimes in our yard, which brings me to the point of a definition of a weed is a plant out of place. And if you like the plant, purslane in the middle of your grass, sometimes people will go, oh my gosh, it's a weed. So you dig it out, put it in your flower box, and you go, boy, it's pretty. Look at the little pinks and yellows and oranges. And
I didn't have to do much. Look at that.
I mean, so purslane could be bought, something of that nature. And
that's a good point to make, too, is that, you have such a dichotomy of how people see things. Even in individual neighborhoods, you'll see people that just go with nature and accept it as it is, and then you'll see people that spend hours and hours and hours and hours manicuring, grooming, and so it's a really interesting difference of opinion on how to approach things. Now, I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't think that I don't spend hours and hours and hours. I'll go out there and I'll spend 15 minutes and go, wow, it's really hot outside. That's all it's getting.
Well, as it gets really hot, it's tougher to get out there. And I found myself either early morning or late. I mean, I was out mowing recently early, and my neighbor said, hey, I noticed you either do it early or late. I said, yep, if I've got a choice. Now, if commercially you don't, you're going to have to go during the middle of the heat. But, now that I've gotten older or a little bit older, I hate to say I'm that old, but when you get older, the heat bothers me a little bit more than it did, even though I was born in St. Pete and lived my life here. Too much of a good thing. Now I wear a big old goofy looking hat. I have water on the tractor and,
smart.
All things that you should do if you're going to have to try to do it yourself. And since I don't walk as well as I used to, which kills me because I, in a different life, used to run 5-minute miles followed by 6-minute miles, but I'm afraid all that's kind of in my rear view by a darn sight. So now I'm thinking about how does my tractor get me around? I mean, I even blow off the walkways on my tractor with my blower from the tractor sitting because it just makes it easier for me.
If it works, it works.
So, Cheryl, did we answer some of your question there? Do you have any other questions about plants?
Well, no, you answered my questions. That gives me a lot of things to look for, and I know it's probably just trial and error, but I value your opinion, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to let me know. I wrote down your suggestions. I'll take them into consideration, and hopefully I'll have a pretty. I love the colorful, flowery flower beds. So, I'm going to probably go more that way than the succulent, type plant.
Take a picture of it and send it to us. And James, where can she send a picture down the road?
She can definitely go to the AskMrGreenthumb.com and submit a photo that way. She can certainly go to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb Facebook page, and she can definitely submit a photo that way. And we'd be happy to see what you grow so that we can feature it on a show. And then that way everyone can enjoy the beauty that you help create.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds great. Thank you so very much, and I thank you guys for your help. Enjoy listening to your program every week.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Have a good day, okay?
Thanks,
All
Cheryl.
right, thank you.
I was going to say,
you're welcome.
Thank you. One of my old buddies, Henry, the other day, contacted one of my other friends I knew from grammar school, and Kevin, and said, hey, you ought to be listening. So shout out to both Kevin and to Henry, who is a great guy who I've known both of them since I was a tyke. And I appreciate that word of mouth campaign more than you know, because, I talked to Joe in there, and Joe said we could do billboards for you. We could do all this other stuff. We could have this big blimp for you. But I said, no, Joe, I appreciate that. Don't take that out of your budget. Let's go ahead and do it the old-fashioned way. And he said, all right, well, if you want to do it that way, we'll do it that way for you as well. And see, I can say that with a straight face. And Joe's in there laughing like crazy going, yeah, that's not going to happen, guys. But anyway, what numbers?
Yes, and we'd like to remind you this is a live call-in radio show. So if you want to join us from 7 to 9 every Sunday morning on AM 860, it's 813-289-1860 or toll-free 877-969-8600.
You stay with us, and Rick in Tampa and Leveling will be to you right after we pay some bills.
Hi, Darcy the cow here for Black Cow, the mature manure. Every time you buy a bag of Black Cow, you're helping the environment. Our process helps to repurpose manure so it is environmentally friendly and beneficial for your garden and lawn. Black Cow contains up to 10 times more nutrients and microbes than garden soils. Oh yeah, and it helps to retain moisture too. Your lawn, flower beds, and vegetable gardens will be off to a great start with Black Cow. Everything grows better with sun, water, and Black Cow. Oh yeah, for details, check out our website, at blackcow.com.
Black Cow, the mature manure. Black Cow.
Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Properties Group encourages you to auction your Florida real estate. Please go to aflre.com. That's A for auction, FL for Florida, and RE for real estate. We achieve fair market value for your home. Are you tired of paying real estate commissions? How about 0% commission for sellers? Instead, we make the buyers pay for it. Again, go to aflre.com. That's Auction Florida Real Estate. That's aflre.com.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Got questions on gardening, real estate, or both? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I am Stan DeFreitas, and you are?
And I am James DeFreitas.
And we are here to help answer your, horticulture. I'm a horticulturist by trade. I'm a certified arborist. And we've got Rick, who's been hanging on there for a while. Rick, thank you for hanging in there. You've got a question about leveling your yard.
Good morning, Rick.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. So, yeah, my backyard, need to level it out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But my concern is when I level it out, I just put in fill dirt. Do I put topsoil down after that? Do I put down fertilizer before I put in the plugs in the sod? Or what would you guys recommend with that?
You could plug or you could sod. Plugging is cheaper. And, if you want to add some leveling off any kind of decent dirt, hopefully you're not bringing in anything that's... I'm always leery because dirt can vary quite a bit.
Some Black Cow might be helpful.
Well, yeah, actually, when I have areas that I have a problem in a lawn area, often I use part of a bag of black cow in that area because it'll help all those good extra nutrients, all those little thousands and millions actually of good bacteria and good guys that are helping will help to establish a root system. So if you level it off and you've got a few bad areas, you might buy a couple of bags of black cow and kind of spread that over it as well. Hopefully you're getting some decent fill, and that can vary. As I say, I've seen fill that I thought, gosh, that's great looking fill, and I've seen some that look like roadkill. I mean, you see brick pieces and stones and stuff that doesn't. I'm going, well, boy, you're gonna take a rake and have to rake back through it to kind of get rid of the bad stuff. Bricks and.
Oh yeah, and I think that's one of the things too that and we did some video segments on the Black Cow facility that they have, and one of the things I do recommend people to do is go check it out because it's an enormous process on how they process the dirt there, and they have these huge mounds. They take temperature readings every day. I mean, it's a really scientific process on how they approach it, and it's one of the reasons when you go and you buy that bag of black cow and you open it up and you're like, oh my goodness, this is like, it really is black gold at that point.
Well, they've got these big thermometers that are like 6-foot thermometers that they're sticking into the piles, which they turn them, they aerate them, they add some moisture to make sure it's the right level. I mean, it's a whole process to kind of. The fine line is you want to keep the good guys, the good bacteria, but you want to get rid of the bad guys. And I think it almost is true when you're doing a yard. You want to get rid of all the bad guys you can, but you want to improve all the good guys that you can. Mm-hmm. And, to me, it's almost like taking a probiotic for people. I mean, I don't think you need probiotics necessarily all the time, but if you've taken a lot of antibiotic that's killed off all those good flora within our system, then maybe some probiotic is certainly a good idea to help reestablish.
Yeah, and to answer his question too, I mean, I've seen yards personally where people have brought in really nice topsoil, and then they wind up putting a nice St. Augustine down, and that yard always seems to do better than the guy that decided to go put a bunch of Bahia plugs out on top of his gravel
or St. Augustine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean Bahia.
You're not going to get Bahia plugs.
Well, right. Fair enough. But the point that I'm getting at is that you can either spend a little bit up front and improve what you've got going on before you put the grass down, and you'll have better results, or you can or not.
Good point, Rick. How does your native soil look?
It's very sandy.
Very sandy. Okay, typical.
So very alkaline.
Probably alkaline. Yeah, when I do pH testing, which I usually do when I used to, when I did a lot of home shows, I would bring my pH tester in, and almost invariably, you would not get a pH. You'd get a pH that wasn't really ideal.
Right.
Usually too alkaline.
So like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, and so we'd be telling folks to add sulfur or something to help acidify the soil to bring it down.
Was it dolomite?
No, dolomite would go the other way. Dolomite would be to sweeten the soil.
Sweeten the soil.
Sulfur would help to acidify the soil. Now, if you're up north, usually you have an acid soil.
So you're doing it other way.
We're 180 degrees often opposite from what you'd be, let's say, in Ohio.
Sure.
So, but that's a good point, because a lot of folks go, what is their point of reference? They grew in Michigan. They grew in Ohio. They grew in New York State. So for them, it's a whole different process to adapt to here. Sure. And so everything you did there, kind of, in many cases, it's 180 degrees opposite of what you did. If you added dolomite there, you're probably going to have to add sulfur down here.
Yeah, makes sense.
And also depends on, the type of grass and stuff that you're using. But we're a little early, I think, on that yet. That's okay. We've got Ken back there in master control. Sometimes he's hitting his buttons. We just got to make sure Ken gets that other cup of coffee. And I know he's a 2-cup of coffee guy. And
so any other questions that you have for us, Rick?
No, thank you both so much.
Hey, we appreciate you being there with us, Rick, and we appreciate it if you tell your neighbors and friends or any of your buddies if they grow a blade of grass, they ought to be listening to our show.
Absolutely, and we want to remind everyone to go check out the AskMrGreenthumb.com website if you have any questions. If you don't feel up to calling us, that's perfectly okay. We cater to everybody's communication style, so if you want to go to the website and submit a question that way, we'll feature it the next week on air, and that way you're part of our show no matter.
Yeah, I appreciate you printing out all those emails and things and bringing them in because that way we have it at our fingertips, and I'd like to see you and put it in a large print because you know that if I have to read it, I need it at a very big size print. Now,
I didn't want you to have to bring your readers.
Well, and I probably would, you know. I
mean, it's bad enough that you have to bring the cane and the walker and all of that other stuff. We don't want you bringing readers.
Well, we'll go into that some other time about some of the afflictions of getting older. And, gosh, I hate it because, you know, I'll meet my old folks that they said, didn't you win the tennis shoes against 60 guys like 20 years ago? I said, I did. You know, weren't you a second-degree black belt in karate? And I said, well, I was. I guess I still am. But, you know.
Hey, the knowledge never leaves. So you know, that's something you get to keep with you forever.
So I'm still there, but, you know, I might say the other day, I was sad news to my sister-in-law passed away the other day, my Nancy, my brother Paul's wife, and that was very sad.
Yeah, our hearts and condolences go out to my Uncle Paul and all of Nancy's children and grandchildren, probably great-great-grandchildren. She had a plethora of family up there in Washington State. She was a fantastic lady. She enjoyed, you know, teaching. Forget the type of sewing she did. But she had computerized capabilities.
Quilting, I think. She was a big quilter.
Yeah, but she had like a computerized version of doing it, and she was an amazingly creative lady, and we all loved her so much.
That's very true. 813-289-1860 or...
Yeah, and you can call toll-free 877-969-8600.
If you've got a question about plants, trees, gardens, or real estate, give us a call, and you can be a part of our show.
Absolutely.
Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Properties Group encourages you to auction your Florida real estate. Please go to aflre.com. That's A for auction, FL for Florida, and RE for real estate. We achieve fair market value for your home. Are you tired of paying real estate commissions? How about 0% commission for sellers? Instead, we make the buyers pay for it. Again, go to aflre.com. That's Auction Florida Real Estate.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial problems with flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
I am Stan, and you are?
And I'm James DeFreitas.
And we're here, the dynamic duo, Batman and Boy Robin, and giving you a little boost there, feller. We're gonna.
It's an upgrade. That's an upgrade.
That'd be a real boost for you.
I'm getting an image in my mind of a motorcycle and a sidecar, and I know where I'd be sitting.
Sidecar feller.
Yeah.
We're going to tell folks if they want to give us a call. What's the numbers again?
They can call 813-289-1860 or 877-969-8600.
8600.
Yeah, you got to do the last part with a deep voice. It just doesn't give it the same essence if you don't. It's got to be 8600.
That sounds like the old FM jocks. You used to always have to have this is, the FM.
Well, and also, I think it's...
But we're on FM too now.
Exactly. We're on, and I forget what the FM part of it is, but somebody will correct us here in a minute.
Yeah, we'll find out. Joe will tell us again. I don't see it on the screen like we did have it, but we will.
But we love the AM 860 anyway.
That's true. AM 860, we're here. Word of mouth, we need folks to know we're here, and that's the reason I'm asking all of you to tell your friends and neighbors, if they grow a blade of grass, they ought to be listening to this show. If they live in a house...
That's right.
If they rent, they ought to be doing our show. I like our buddy Brandon there. He always says, hey, should you be spending your money on rent or should you be buying? Well, you should be buying.
Always buying. Absolutely. And so one of the questions I was going to ask you that's real estate related is why should someone consider auctioning their real estate?
Well, they should because we're another tool, another way to do it. And let's say you're tight on the money. Let's say you're not sure you can pay your 6% to the average real estate deal.
Sure, and when what Stan's saying there is not just tight on the money, but that your mortgage is maybe you don't have the sufficient equity in your home. There's nothing more depressing about, hey, I have to sell my house, and then go, well, honey, we're going to have to bring $17,000 to closing because we just don't own enough. We don't own enough of the home yet for us to actually sell it correctly.
We've seen situations like that. I mean, I've actually called up lenders saying, please don't go to foreclosure. Wouldn't you rather have a check than foreclosing on this dear sweet little old lady?
Yeah, and that's a great point. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because when we take over a listing, we help to take on a lot of the problems that people are facing to make their panicked emotional situation a little less panicked and emotional. We try to go in and we try to help people in that way. So if somebody is having let's say it's the situation Stan's referring to is it was a private money lender, also known as a hard money lender, which again, and I'm going to say it this way. Hard money lenders get a bad reputation, and I understand why, but I'm also going to say one thing about that. A hard money lender becomes a predatory lender the moment that a person can no longer pay their bill.
That's true.
So,
it's not because they come on and go, on the day of my daughter's wedding, I'm going to come to you and make you an offer that you can't receive. I'm going to send Joe in there in master control, and he'll make sure that you pay.
Right, so the idea is nobody forced you to sign, a deal where the interest rate was pretty high, this is a conversation I can have because I'm not, we're not directly representing anybody as a result of a hard money lending situation currently, right. So it's not like I'm schooling up somebody, but True. I will say that you have to take some responsibility for the decisions you made in the past. If you made decisions in the past that weren't the best, and a hard money lender is all you can get, and you still want to do real estate transactions or still do a deal, then you have to accept that you kind of put yourself in that position.
True. But I like it when I can go, Joe, you need to go out there and collect for me. Joe, and he goes, hey, no problem. Godfather, I'm so happy that you invited me here on the day of your daughter's wedding. And I go, Joe, you're always going to be invited, but you need to go collect now. And that's his side business. We're not going to go into Joe's side business that he does around here, but he makes one heck of a lot of money doing that.
We appreciate Joe. So one of the things, again, when people go to auction their real estate, again, they can go to our website at Auction Florida Real Estate. So that's AFRE.com. That's AFLRE.com, I should say. And people can go to our website. And some of the reasons that we would encourage people to consider auctioning their real estate is that it provides fair market value, and one of the things is people go, well, what is fair market value? Well, it is a price that a buyer is willing to offer at a price that a seller is willing to accept.
True.
So, here's another controversial statement that I'll make real quickly here because I think Stan's wanting to go to a caller.
We do have a caller, Conrad. We need to get to him in a second.
And we'll get to Conrad in just a second. But one of the things I wanted to mention is that sellers in a real estate transaction do not actually get to set the price. They set the price of what they would like to sell it at, and the buyer then comes up with a counteroffer of a price that may or may not be accepted by the seller. So I just want to mention that real fast, that because I think a lot of sellers always think that they hold all the cards, and they do to a degree until they get foreclosed upon.
Yeah, there's A over here, B there, and then C that normally is where it winds up being.
Absolutely. So we have Conrad, you said.
Good morning, Conrad.
Good morning.
How are you? You've got a question about a Grand Oak, I think.
Yes. I have a Grand Oak, and I noticed that it was losing its bark. And it's not oozing anything. I got the tree harvest of the extension service out here, and he tells me I got a fungus, and he just wrote me off, said that tree's going to die. I don't know when, but it's going to die, and might as well cut it down, but I don't want to do that.
Sometimes, he's right that all things are going to die, but I just went out and looked at a tree the other day, a big old Grand Oak down in actually Gulfport area, and I actually put some injectors into the tree. They've got some borers in the tree, which are larval stages of beetles. You'll see little tiny holes, had some holes maybe the size of a quarter of an inch. And what I did there is I injected the tree, and I say, I'm going to do my limitation there with the beetles.
You knew it was coming. I want to hear it. Come on.
Say, John, Paul, Ringo, and the boys, without Epi, we can't make rock and roll like we used to. We had Joe, he was with Epi, and with Epi, they said we could do some more rock and roll if we did. But anyway, that's my Beatles imitation, but I will say I can give those Beatles their last supper. I'm not always so sure that you have to cut down every oak. And one of the things I love about Utzi's tree service is often they'll call me because they'll know if we can keep that tree alive for 10 more years, we can go out every year or two and do a little light trimming as opposed to taking it down once. So I looked at this tree in Gulfport and said, look, I can't guarantee anything, but I will guarantee that if we keep this tree, I actually put some fungicide on the tree, I put some pesticide in the tree, and some nutrients into the tree, and I used a little Mangés. We put the little, like Popeye's pipe, directly into the tree.
Sure.
I believe in it. I think the system works. And
so you provide, private consultations.
You can call me.
Yeah, at 727. You can call Stan at 727-423-4794. And one of the coolest things that he does, and I think this is really neat, is that...
What's Stan's last name?
DeFreitas. DeFreitas. And so and so one of the cool things is that you can call him, you can get a private consultation. But the neat thing is that Stan often will forego his consultation fee in order to put it towards treatment of the tree.
Yeah, often, I do charge a consulting fee, but often if I can do something for you, and I usually come ready to bear, I'm ready to do something. So if I've got injectors and I've got stuff to do for the tree, I usually have a fungicide, insecticide, and nutrients with me. And my thing is, let's try to save the tree. Okay, maybe the tree only lives 10 more years.
Well, that's 10 more years.
But if it's 10 more years, none of us know we're going to be here in 10 more years. So that's a long time. As I get older, if somebody says I can guarantee you another 10 years, I'm going, hey, I'll take that.
Right. Why not? Why wouldn't you?
If the governor had changed the tree rules, now I get to chop down any limbs without getting a permit?
Well, it varies in different areas. For the most part, we don't have to have permits like we did, but often you want to have something approved by, and you say you've had a certified arborist look at the tree. If a certified arborist will look at the tree, and then like I just did one recently, was to take a tree down actually in Oldsmar, and they wanted my, that I'm my number, that I'm actually a certified arborist, sure. And they wanted it on a letterhead that I have. And in that particular case, there's only about maybe 6 feet between the tree and the house on both sides.
Sure. And I would also say, too, definitely check with your local city government and make sure that you're following all their protocols. If you're not governed by a city and you're in a county situation, check with them, too, because you definitely want to make sure that even if, as we all saw with this pandemic, we all thought, well, geez, it's the state that's going to tell us what to do. No, it's the county that's going to tell us what to do. Oh, no, the city's going to tell us what to do. And then we all were kind of turning around wondering, well, I don't know who to listen to.
That's true. So that can vary, and it does vary somewhat.
Okay. You guys been great. I definitely call you and get the finer points.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, please do.
Yeah, give me a holler, Conrad. I'll always return calls. And I can tell you, I'm old school. I usually call within the hour, but sometimes it may be as late as a day if I'm out and I'm out of town or something.
And I'm going to be pushing that, too, to young professionals, that old school, that part of old school should become new school. And we shouldn't have to congratulate people for returning phone calls. That should be automatic. I understand we get busy, and we've got email, and we've got internet, and we've got YouTube videos, and Ask Mr. Greenthumb shows to watch, which is definitely important, probably the most important thing you'll do all week.
Right.
But one of the things that I would say is, especially in business, and again, a lot of the older, more seasoned professionals in business, I find, are really good at returning phone calls. The younger folks I talk to, and I'm not going to just say it's entirely to real estate, but, Stan and I give lectures all the time, and one of the things that we tell them is, hey, look, if you don't want to pick up that phone and return a phone call, real estate may be a challenging business for you. So, and I say that has to apply to all businesses.
Sure. I've had young agents come up to me saying, I don't really want to talk to folks. And I go, well, then you probably need to pick a different career, because in this business in particular, communications is important. And but anyway, Conrad, we do thank you for being with us, and we hope that you'll give us a holler off the air, and we'll be with you on that one as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for the call, Conrad. It was a great question.
Yeah, same here.
And thank you. And that opens up a line, and that means the lines are open. What are the phone numbers,
And
young
people
grasshopper?
People can call at 813-289-1860 or 877-969-8600.
See, you're getting that professional sound now. And say, Joe in there told me he loved the Godfather. So when I did in the day of my daughter's wedding, I'm going to come to you and tell you that, as he said, may your first child be a masculine child. And I said so. And I'm sort of I can sit there. Of course, he likes Ronald Reagan, too. So I can sit there and go, well, I was talking to Nancy just the other day, and I've decided to go back and be the Gipper. And so he likes the Ronald Reagan when I do that one as well, because he has a big, 14 by 14 glossy photo of
it's basically a shrine. But hey,
yes.
we applaud him. We wish we could have presidents that all lived up to that his stature. So
one of my favorites still would be old Jimmy. And I let me say this to you, that as your president, I will never lie to you. And I'm going to say, even if people didn't always like him politically, I thought kudos to him. The guy goes out. He's still in his 80s. He's building Habitat for Humanity. So I applaud Jimmy Carter, and he's also one of the imitations I can do better than most. Numbers are.
Well, come back. We'll be talking about plants and real estate.
Stay with us.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's Plantz, is bringing nature inside in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity. And get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Properties Group encourages you to auction your Florida real estate. Please go to aflre.com. That's A for auction, FL for Florida, and RE for real estate. We achieve fair market value for your home. Are you tired of paying real estate commissions? How about 0% commission for sellers? Instead, we make the buyers pay for it. Again, go to aflre.com. That's Auction Florida Real Estate. That's aflre.com.
Utz Tree Service, that's YUTZY, is singularly focused on complete customer satisfaction and has been for almost 50 years. From initial contact to service completion, UTZTreeservice.com will prove that you have hired the best tree care service available. With the most knowledgeable staff and the most advanced equipment, you can be sure that UTZTreeservice.com is the most professional tree care company in the Tampa Bay area. Contact UTZTreeservice.com today for the highest quality tree care.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Got questions on gardening, real estate, or both? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I am Stan DeFreitas, and you are?
And I am James DeFreitas, and welcome this Sunday morning.
We're glad that we can be part of your Sunday morning, and I've been doing, of course, I did radio forever in a day on Sunday mornings, and then I didn't, and I missed it.
But now you're back.
Now I'm back, bigger and better than ever, and maybe
with yours truly.
Well, with my son, which is a great thing. I've worked with you for many years now, and of course, it's a delight to have someone who is as meticulous as you are, which kind of balances off me somewhat.
No problem. Happy to fill in some gaps here and there.
Let's go to Bill in Clearwater, and not a Crete, but probably a crepe myrtle, I'm guessing.
Good morning. Yes, I have 3 medium-sized crepe myrtles that they've been in the ground about 20 years, and every year we get a nice show. But for some reason this season, one of them hasn't put out any leaves whatsoever, and the other 2 are all leafed out and about ready to bloom.
That's not good. Normally June is the time they start to bloom.
Exactly.
And
I've researched it. I've do the fingernail scrape on the bark. It's green underneath. I see no reasonable explanation why one of these 3, which are all right in the same part of the yard, right together, would be so obstinate.
No mushrooms off the base or anything of that nature. Nope. You haven't had, it didn't pop out any green at all.
it looked like there's like small little buds, but not they stopped. It almost like it was starting to, and then just decided, okay, I'm not going to do anything this year.
You don't think it got hit by any kind of weed killer? Anybody use anything around it nearby?
I've used Roundup in the vicinity of those plants over the years, but again, I've got 2 that are fine and 1 that's
it's not.
It almost sounds like a consultation might be needed there.
It could be. I mean, sometimes I go out and I look at stuff. I'll actually dig down and look at the roots. Sometimes I'll cut on the little open area. I mean, I want to see if you look at a root and you pull on the outer sheathing of the root and it comes off in your hand, then it is usually Pythium. It's a root rot fungus. Now, why does one get it, not another? Well, I make the analogy too. Why does one brother live to be 98? And another one dies at 55. It shouldn't happen. Genetically, they should both be 98ers. But there can be differences, and often there is. And often you'll see a difference. This plant is 3 feet from this plant, and this one gets into the problem. You'll see it in hedges all the time. You look at a hedge, let's say a viburnum hedge, and it looks perfect. But the one in there dies off.
Yep.
And you're going, why? Why did that one get it? Well, there could be an increase of... kind of reminds me of the COVID thing. I mean, I'm not real worried about it, but I know everybody else is. One person could have it, you could transmit it, and it could be a problem. I mean,
sure.
we're now in plexiglass world in here in the radio station. Never worked in plexiglass facility in my life.
But it's very nice plexiglass.
It is. And Joe did a wonderful job.
He really did. I mean, I can't tell you how safe. If either one of us maybe had it, it's amazing. His construction technique is world class.
It reminds me, you go to Publix and they got a 2 foot by 2 foot thing of plexiglass, and it keeps me from the cashier. And I keep thinking, do you really think a 2 foot by 2 foot thing of plexiglass is doing anything?
Sure.
Well, to the attorneys and lawyers, we have done something. And that is what they're doing. But, Bill, I'm not sure exactly what you got. You could send me a picture. I'd look at the roots. I'd look at the stems. You have done some of the things I would do, which would be to scrape that outer bark to see that I have life. And you tell me there still is life. And that's important. If it were mine, I'd probably hit it with some fertilizer, maybe even a little bucket of Miracle Grow or something to see if I couldn't pop it out with some growth. It wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
Or something other than Miracle Grow.
Well, it could be, yeah. They're not sponsoring us, so I'll find. At one point, they did. At one point, I hate to say shamelessly, we were flown up and we had stretch limos waiting for us when we went up to the fine folks in Ohio.
That's been quite a while. So we're going to have to think of some other great fertilizer company that hasn't come on our radar
Now
yet.
they're more worried about growing marijuana because there's billions of dollars in it. But
well, now, if they want to talk to us about that, we'll have to make an exception on this conservative radio network.
That's right. Well, the CBD oil, feller, not
go.
for the smoke.
That's right.
For those nutrients that might help with your
aches and
arthritis.
pains. That's right.
Bill,
well, if I could just interject, my wife is ready to just cut it down and put a new one in there, but I'm a little more of the patient variety, and I'm inclined to just, okay, let's give it one more season if nothing happens this year and see what happens next spring.
Yeah, if it doesn't come out by next year,
off.
I vote with your wife. If it doesn't come back out by next spring or even by the end of this summer, I would say it's time to 86 it and put a new one in.
Yeah, and if nothing else, definitely take some pictures of it and submit it onto the AskMrGreenthumb.com thing, and we'll feature it next week. And if you take some close-ups and show us what you've done to try to get close on it. What I like about your particular problem is that somebody else out there is going to have that problem, but maybe they're too afraid to call in like you did. And then that way we can feature it and we can answer your question and help a bunch of other people at the same time.
And I want to know, too, if there's a root problem, then I'm going to advise you to go to something other than another crepe myrtle, because I hate to put the same. It's like me putting you into Typhoid Mary's bed. If there's a root problem that killed that last one and you stick a new one in there, then there's a good chance the new one will come down with the same disease.
Now, at what area under the canopy of the tree would I do this root check? Up near the trunk? Or
fairly close, maybe within
line?
about a foot or so of the trunk. I would dig down and I'd like to look at those roots. They should look white and healthy. If they look yellowed, they look blackened. If they come off with why? We have not had that much rain, which typically the root fungi problems start coming on when we've gotten, when we've received
no rain.
when we received way too much rain.
Right.
So But there again, you can say, here's the rules normally to follow. It's like I before E, except after C, and in DeFreitas. And
it doesn't always
doesn't always work.
Yeah, it doesn't always apply.
Now, let me just ask you one more question about the weed killer. I mean, are the roots very close to the soil? Could that possibly have been a problem? Just Roundup?
Normally not, but it may be translocated more than we used to think. And also we're worried about sometimes misting. If for some reason it missed up against the green part of the trunk, it's translocated. Roundup or glyphosate is translocated through the green part back down, and it affects the respiration in the root system. If for some reason it was near the bed and somehow you got a little bit more mist that blew up onto the trunk or the stem or the foliage, sometimes that can be, you could have got it on that one more than the other two. The others, let's say it just got around the root system. Typically, they say it doesn't absorb through the roots. But, we make all these hard and fast rules, and then when life goes on, we go,
Sure, and we learn more about what it does as we keep going.
And good or bad, lawyers typically go out and go,
It definitely is a connection.
Let's check this out further. And sometimes that's bad, and sometimes that's good. I really think it's good that we do have lawyers out there that say, hey, let's go check something a little bit further, a little bit longer. And sometimes that's good for us, as much as everybody, to the chagrin of lawyers. Without them, I like our lawyer that does all the commercials. He calls them liars, but he advertises and makes billions of dollars. And if he wants to sponsor our show, I'd say, "Gosh, I like the way you say liars." But
well, gentlemen, I appreciate your help.
Thank you.
I will get those pictures together and up to the website, and we'll see what we can come up with.
From our perspective, we're of course, you can go to our website at Auction Florida Real Estate. That's AFLRE.com, and we get into doing all kinds of real estate auctions, whether it's commercial or residential or land. We help people with all kinds of stuff like that. And
we've got a ton of people around us that can help with any of those specific specialty
2
projects.
hours has come and gone.
That's amazing. We want to thank you all for being with us. And remember, of course, the Plant and Real Estate Talk will be here next weekend.
Absolutely.